And again, just so there are absolutely no doubts, we have legally binding contracts in place. We have a right to this oil. Ukraine has an obligation to transport this oil, and therefore all the information we have confirms that this pipeline is neither broken nor damaged and is capable of transporting oil. I consider the actions of the Ukrainian president to be hostile towards the Slovak Republic. This action is significantly damaging us logistically, causing considerable problems, especially for the Slovnaft company when it comes to securing alternative oil supplies from other regions of the world. Not to mention that we were forced to declare a state of oil emergency at the government level, and we are already drawing oil from our state material reserves. We naturally expect the situation to stabilize once the tankers arrive, but I consider it very, very irresponsible and hostile if the Ukrainian side gives us different dates every day. On the 23rd, we received news that the oil would arrive on the 25th. On the 25th, we were told that on the 26th, the latest update is that no oil will arrive in February, and if it does, the earliest possible date is around March 3rd. Well, the Ukrainian president probably thinks he can do whatever he wants, but he is very, I repeat, very mistaken. The first reciprocal measures have been implemented and emergency electricity deliveries have been halted. Emergency. I trust that you have thoroughly reviewed everything that was stated, because those were considerably more significant than any commercial electricity provisions they could purchase elsewhere. However, if they experience a power outage, they will truly and damn well feel that they won't be able to take electricity from Slovakia, which stabilizes their entire energy network as a whole. We did exactly what we announced and promised. This is the very first reciprocal measure that has been implemented. The government is prepared for further reciprocal measures if we observe an absolute lack of interest from the Ukrainian president to deliver to us that which we are rightfully entitled to, that which we have purchased. Not to mention that this is not Russian oil, ladies and gentlemen. This is oil that belongs to Slovnaft, because Slovnaft purchases this oil at the Belarusian-Ukrainian border, and Ukraine therefore does not transit Russian oil, but rather oil that is the property of the Slovnaft company, a joint stock company. We had a quite serious discussion about it in the government today, and I see a whole list of further reciprocal measures that are of course being considered. I also spoke with our people in Brussels today. Yesterday I spoke with the foreign minister and the state secretary about the negotiations that took place, whether regarding the sanctions package or Hungary's veto. This concerns the 90 billion euro loan for Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to be clear. Slovakia, as you are well aware, rejected this specific loan. We made the decision to implement what is known as an opt-out. We ourselves chose not to participate in this financial arrangement, but we explicitly stated that should other sovereign nations desire to collectively gather funds and extend a loan to Ukraine, then we would certainly not stand in their way. However, no one told us that despite the fact we can opt out, meaning we won't be a part of it, which we aren't anyway. And you can call me any servant you like, I am proud that Slovakia is not part of the military loan for Ukraine. I repeat, I am proud of that. My government supports peace, not war, because from those 90 billion, 60 billion is intended for weapons and 30 billion for the operation of Ukraine itself. So we were not informed that yet another decision would have to be made regarding the European Union's budget. I won't bother you with the details now, where unanimity is absolutely required. Therefore, Hungary's veto is absolutely effective. Absolutely effective. I don't know what the European Commission will do about it. At this moment, I won't be commenting on the next steps or measures the government of the Slovak Republic will take. However, if President Zelensky continues to insult Slovakia in this manner and cause us damage, considering he has already harmed us regarding gas, and now he has harmed us regarding oil, completely without justification, especially since we have assisted him with absolutely everything he has ever required, I guarantee you that without hesitation, I will adopt and propose further measures at multiple levels regarding Slovak-Ukrainian relations. Slovakia is a sovereign country, and I will not allow anyone to play games with us like this. I repeatedly informed Mr. Zelensky, Slovakia is not Ukraine's servant. Slovakia is not a servant to Ukraine, and we are not a country where one can simply assume they can just arrive, take what they want, and issue commands. That is simply not how things work here. That is why I deeply regret that we have found ourselves in this particular situation. However, there is no reason, be it technical, legal, or any other, for Zelensky to halt oil flows and inflict upon us the kind of difficulties he has caused. Internationally, the situation will develop very complicatedly, because I cannot quite imagine how they intend to break this Hungarian veto. As for unanimity to a 90 billion euro loan. By the way, neither Hungary nor the Czech Republic nor Slovakia, as I've mentioned before, will be participating in these loans or in this specific loan. But this is 1,000 times bigger problem than some 20th sanctions package, which is already ridiculous. It's laughable. You know what? I'm already laughing at it. Not to mention that it's not only us, but if you look at Greece, Malta, Cyprus, they all have a huge problem with this package because it's harming them economically. I mean, what kind of sanction against Russia is this that harms the member states of the European Union? What kind of nonsense is that? But this is how the European Union functions today. Let me clarify, colleague. And this is the 13th date that Ukraine gave us. From that date, I believe January 28th was when the oil stopped flowing. 13 times they've led us on. They say it'll come the next day. Then they tell you, I don't know, that tomorrow 13,500 tons are supposed to arrive. The day after tomorrow, it's supposed to be 14,000 tons. And then it will gradually increase. However, the next day they send you a message saying, no, that's not quite right. Tomorrow will be zero. The day after tomorrow will be zero. And then something will come. I have absolutely no reason to believe that a third March is realistic. I think Zelensky no longer wants to send any oil. I am convinced he simply wants to do it. I also think that this is a political game against Viktor Orban. The aim is to damage his reputation before the elections, which will take place in Budapest and across all of Hungary in April. This is a very dangerous game that Zelensky has gotten himself into, because I'm not sure if President Zelensky fully comprehends that for Ukraine's eventual accession to the European Union, he will absolutely need the approval of every single member state. We have very clearly reiterated that we believe in and wish Ukraine a European perspective. We have also stated that if Ukraine fulfills the conditions it is required to meet, then we are fully prepared to support Ukraine and perhaps even share our valuable experiences with them. The problem is that someone in the European Union is devising a way to circumvent all these requirements and deceive the system, so that you suddenly won't have to spend several years preparing, like Serbia and Montenegro have had to. Serbia is being deceived from morning till night. In Serbia, chapters are not being opened, though they should have been opened long ago. What should a country like Albania say? What should a country like Serbia do? What should Montenegro say, which is undertaking reforms, difficult reforms, to join the European Union? And then Ukraine comes along, totally corrupt. The main argument that President Zelensky uses concerning gas and oil is that by purchasing this oil and this gas, we are essentially helping the Russian Federation to finance its military activities in Ukraine. This is Mr. Zelensky's primary argument. Why does this not apply to France and others who are purchasing liquefied gas in such a volume that in 2025 the amount of liquefied gas bought from the Russian Federation will be substantially greater than it was in 2024, that during the war, during the escalation of the war, the proportion of gas that Western states buy from the Russian Federation is not decreasing, it is actually increasing? Are the United States buying enriched uranium from Russia? Indeed they are. So how am I supposed to accept from President Zelensky, who believes he can do absolutely anything, that you Slovaks are not allowed to? Because by doing this, you are directly financing the Russian Federation. I am not 3 years old, and I certainly don't have snot under my nose. It's just you know just how much this truly resonates. So under these specific circumstances, please understand this is the most essential argument that we absolutely must make. We are acting solely in our very own self-interest.